Marvel's Avengers is one of my most anticipated games of 2020, and during this year's Gamescom, we were gifted an extended look showing off what the gameplay will actually look like. The whole thing was slightly underwhelming, but also eerily familiar. So let's talk about it on this week's episode of Good to Know Gaming. So I'll start by saying that this gameplay footage didn't really satisfy my expectations, which could suggest that maybe my expectations were too high, or maybe at the very least too far leaning in a different direction. But let's not go all negative straight away. There were some things I liked. The character models and voice acting are great. I know some have had issues dealing with the B-list knockoffs of the movie cast, but I don't mind it at all. And visually, this looks incredible. I think they've done a great job of capturing the visual aesthetic that the cinematic universe has cultivated. Now onto the things I didn't love. The main issue I have is with the sense of on-rails linearity, which are terms you don't really want associated with a game about characters far more suited to an open world. Seeing both Thor and Iron Man, two characters who should be able to move freely in all direction, confined to such limited space was a real letdown, and was something I was worried about since the initial announcement of the game. Now I understand that this is apparently just a tutorial, but I do think it gave a pretty clear indication of what each character is going to feel like to control. The highlight for me was definitely Captain America's gameplay, which looked like a nice mix of mechanics from Super Soldier in 2011 and the Arkham series combat. Black Widow also looked like a lot of fun, but I think that makes sense as her and Cap are the most ground level heroes, so combat for them needed no revolutionizing. Hulk looked like it could be a lot of fun until it turned into a parkour simulator.
Extreme! Parkour! 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 I'm right behind you, Andy! Come on! Yeah!
Thor was promising for a brief moment before realizing just how confined you are to quite a small area, and I think the biggest letdown would have to be Iron Man, whose gameplay just looked like a graphically updated version of the terrible 2013 mobile game tie-in for the third movie. But then I watched the whole thing again, and I started to get a strong sense of familiarity that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Then it hit me. This is just LEGO Marvel Heroes. Now, if you've never played any entries in the LEGO Marvel series, do yourself a favor and get on that. They are endlessly fun, light-hearted action-adventure puzzlers, where you circulate through a range of different Marvel characters depending on the story setting of that mission. And each character has their own skill set that's relevant to progressing through the confined linear levels. Pretty familiar, right? Now it makes sense that Square Enix might take inspiration from these titles, as LEGO Marvel Heroes and its sequel were both critical and financial successes. And since making this connection, I have to admit I'm more intrigued about Avengers, and it's made me curious as to what other elements from the LEGO series that they might have taken inspiration from. One of the most essential factors to my enjoyment of the LEGO Marvel series was the free roam available between missions, where, playing as any of the 180 characters, you had complete freedom to run, jump, swing, and fly across the entirety of the New York sandbox that they'd created. There were mini-games and collectibles, races, and little secrets to find, but above all else, it gave the most spot-on feeling of being a flying superhero I had experienced in any game. It sounds crazy given the simplistic and childish design of these games, but flying through New York as Iron Man felt like how I always imagined, and this is what I was most hoping for in this coming Avengers game. All is not lost though, and I certainly haven't written this game off at this point. My hope is that this gameplay is just an incredibly small snapshot of what the game has to offer, and more than anything, I'm holding out for the announcement that there will be a free roam open world to explore in between missions. But enough of my thoughts. Let me know in the comments if this gameplay made you more or less excited for this release, and give a shout out to your favourite superhero game of all time. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe goes a long way to helping me get my content out. I am trying my best to make this a weekly release channel, but with university and work commitments, I am a little time poor, meaning video releases have been a little erratic, so be sure to hit the bell icon to receive notifications as soon as my videos drop. That's all from me this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kyle for Good to Know Gaming. I'll see you next week.